I'm sitting here with International Joe, Mr. Joe Beasley. Mr. Beasley, we're looking at coming into President-elect Trump. But I guess we want to go back a little bit and talk about racism, civil rights under the Trump regime. What are your thoughts?
Well, as I was asked by the lead magazine in Brazil to do a piece on that topic, and I'd suggested that Mr. Trump had bullied his way into the White House. I think we can pretty well agree that that's what happened, starting out with 17 people in the Republican primary, and most of them was more highly qualified than Mr. Trump. They mostly all had held public office and had a public record of service. But Mr. Trump, well, none of us hardly gave him a chance because he was so reckless in his conduct and in his speech, and so we thought, well, almost every week he would say something that was so outlandish until we thought it would just kill him. But rather than killing him, it seemed to just propelled him further and further. And so I think we can also, use the word bullying, and because it's a pretty word that's in play all over this country now. But he certainly was a bully and made some enemies on the way, like Mr. Jeb Bush from Florida. I thought that Jeb at least had some real integrity, that when he fell out with him, he fell out with him, and that was the end of that. And I've been very interested with so many live presidents that's still on the scene. As I understand it, last I heard, only one living president planned on being at the inauguration. I don't know if you heard anything different from that.
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, and so so we got how many live presidents? We have both of the Bushes, of course,
Clinton.
and President Clinton, and is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
It is like they've been saying, and I thought it was a joke. Shame is the new fame. And if you look at President-elect Trump, that's all he did was shame folks.
Well, and it was almost obscene in many instances. Little old Rubio, and even talking about you got little hands, so therefore it equates to, so it was just, I thought, rather ridiculous. But here we are, 20 days away, and Mr. Trump will be the president.
Now, if you sit here and you look at civil rights, human rights, the gains we have made with the selection of his cabinet, with the selection of what he's getting ready to do in terms of federal courtship judge, Supreme Court judge, what are we to expect?
Well, let's put it this way. He's sent some strong signals, and I mean, really strong signals. Of course, I don't think we have anything, to really fear, because our civil rights have pretty much been obtained and secured, I believe. And, we can vote, we have public accommodations. Our issue more is one of civil rights. Many of us still don't have access to money. And so I just don't know. And on some of the things, his cabinet can be rather, I don't want to say frightening, because it's not a word I have in my vocabulary, but he's got some neocons that really, he's put them in the various departments, but for the most part, they don't believe in what the department stands for. Like, for example, the Attorney General, he's bringing in this guy from Alabama.
Session.
Yes, absolutely. His record is pretty clear that he don't really believe in civil rights and for black people.
Well, you are a veteran, and they're talking about now, I'm hearing, privatizing the VA.
Well, you know, I've been very, very disappointed at the VA. It's been over the last, I guess, 10 years or more, the VA has just been under tremendous scrutiny, and they still haven't changed in an appreciable way. As you know, I put 21 years in the military, and I was, you know, in Vietnam, where you know, get credit for Agent Orange and so forth. But you know, at 80 now, I do have 50% disability, but I believe that I'm entitled to 100% disability. You know, something not known by many people, but I was exposed to detonation of a nuclear weapon. It was not a nuclear explosion, but in 1966, while in Spain, I got the word. In fact, I was received a phone call that there had been a mid-air collision of a B-52 and a KC-135 refueling plane, and the four atomic bombs that was on board the vessel, two of them blew up. Not a nuclear explosion, but we were exposed to all kinds of radioactive materials, and so I do believe that should have qualified me, you know, for 100%. As a matter of fact, the New York Times in June, they'd written an article about that the veterans was dying because of exposure to, but you know, I've even taken that to the VA. The article is well documented, and they don't want to hear anything about it. But we don't, you know, want to talk about that too much. But the fact of the matter is, the VA has been very unresponsive, and many of the people that actually have those jobs, very few of them have ever been in the military, and so, you know, and sadly, if they would privatize it, I don't think it couldn't be any much worse than it is. I don't really trust the VA. In fact, I don't even use the hospitals. I don't even get the medicine from them. As a fact, and quite frankly, let me say this now. I'll be quiet about the VA. Early on in the year of this year, I decided that I would go to the VA because I went to get some hearing aids, and they'd almost convinced me. Well, would you go to a civilian doctor when you get everything hit? And so for I guess a couple of months, I went to a VA doctor, a guy that I had a great rapport with, and so forth. But then I guess I had my pulse kept going high, and so then I went to the doctor. At what the straw that broke the camel's back, I went to my doctor and sat at the Fort Mac, and my pulse was still somewhere like 111, and the doctor said I was fine. I could go home, and of course I take my pulse every day, and normally it's around 86. So from that point on, I said I'm really through with the VA. So I went back to my doctor, and he found out that he'd given me a prescription that it actually caused your pulse to really fly. So I think if they privatized it, they couldn't make it any worse than it is now.
On that note, thank you.